Hello and welcome to episode 1380 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Monday, February 24th. I am your host, Paul Sporer, joined this afternoon by Justin Mason. Oh, it's morning for you. Dang it. I
Yep.
botched that one. How you doing this morning, afternoon? It's the crossover time there. My bad. How you doing,
Yeah.
Justin?
By the time the episode's over, it'll be afternoon here.
True, but I like to be correct on it, and we usually start more in like the 2 to 3 range, but we're starting at 1:30 Central right now, which means it's 11:30 Pacific, so that's all right. We're off on a bad foot as far as getting the time zones right, but we got a lot to talk about, and we are in a little bit of a time because you do have a meeting coming up, so I want to dive right in. It's ARF weekend, we should say, and then you fill
Mhm.
in your appropriate letters at the beginning there. You do BARF. I am now in TARF. First year, very excited. Texas Area Roto Fantasy League. Just Jason, of course, is in WARF. I guess
Mhm.
it's technically is how you pronounce that word. But you guys did discuss these yesterday. I don't usually listen to y'all's episode until Wednesday, Thursday, so I'm never right up to the moment on it. So we're not going to deep dive your team, but I do want to get a few thoughts from you just on how things went there. You were able to send me your board ahead
Mhm.
of time, and we post the public boards for both, so people can go check, and you'll figure out what my team is here in a moment. Justin's teammate. Just so I want to start at the very beginning there. How excited were you that Soto fell? He doesn't always get to 8. Who were your like 2, 3 targets that you were looking at getting there at 8?
So in my head, when I did my KDS, I feel like there's a clear delineation between the top 8, right, and kind of
Mm-hmm.
the back half of the draft. Um, However, when I actually sat down after KDS ran and kind of looked at like, okay, what's my plan here? I went, oh, I think there's actually a top 7. I don't know if Carroll belongs in the top 8. I think you can make the argument for it, but
Yeah, I
you
hem
know,
and haw a little bit though with it too. I'm with you on that. Where I'm like, I'm not
I
gonna
think he's
blast anybody,
more.
but I'd
I think
rather
he's.
not.
I think he's more in the Tatis Tucker Betts kind of
Yep,
grouping
I
because
totally
of
agree.
the past shoulder, right? Like
Yep.
all those guys have either past or recent injuries that might be a little bit scary to you, whereas the top 7 don't. And so I was like, oh no, I'm going to be
Oh,
sitting there at 8, and all
getting
7,
one of
all
those. Yep.
yeah, all 7 of those guys are going to go, because that's what happened to me. I think last year, I think I had like picked 12, and I was like, well, somebody's going to fall to me. And I sat there and I was like, oh, great. Nobody fell. Like,
It's going in order.
yeah, it went exactly the way it wasn't supposed to. But so when Soda fell to me, I was like, oh, sweet. Because my backup plan was Lindor at 8.
hmm
I think Lindor deserves to be a top 8 player. And
Co-sign all
um,
the way on that, by the way. Let me
yeah.
just say, I'm big on Lindor. The fact that he's available on the wheel means that my main event after the
Mhm.
top 6 or 7, I will be then putting 15 up there and I'll get quote unquote stuck with Lindor happily.
Yeah. So, but Soda made it to me, and I don't know how many opportunities I'm going to get to have Soda this year.
Yep.
So, I thought that would be a really fun start. You get batting average, you get power, you're going to get a crap ton of runs and RBIs. I think he's just going to be fantastic in that Mets lineup. So, and I like getting that good average base. So to start off
Yes.
the draft, because it allows you to take shots like I did with guys like Kyle Schwarber later.
Schwarber. And you paired him with
So
Turner. So you went
yep,
Soto Turner. That's a great 1-2 punch there. Even Matty O can be an average
yeah,
asset. You're not banking on him to necessarily be, but if he drops you a 270, that's not going to be a huge shock. And then, of course, you got your ace closer with Clase and your double twins, Lopez Ober there. So I really like your foundation. Actually, triple twins there, throwing in Royce
yeah,
Lewis in round 8. So you're going to be watching a lot of twins games this year. I do like your crew. I think you stuck to a lot of the guys that we've talked about that you like. You got Colt Keith. Now I just mixed up his name completely.
yeah,
I didn't even say his
yeah.
name. You got Keith Colt, aka Colt Keith, Michael Garcia, Christopher Sanchez. I'm a big fan of. I like your Real Muto pick there. I think he's kind of fun, boring this year, where it's like you just kind of
Mhm.
ho hum, take him in the ninth, 10th, and you could get a great season out of him. You mentioned Schwarber there too. So yeah, I think you put together a really fun team. Philly and Minnesota, though, 3 from each within your first 9 picks. So not too bad teams to get a bunch of players from, though, right? I
Guess
know
guess who I'm
Minnesota.
thinking of go to the World Series this year?
Right. I know Minnesota collapsed last year, but they're still a really fun team as much as we ragged on them for doing nothing. And then, of course, Philly's just a great team. So, again, if you want to hear more coverage, you guys did break down both y'all's teams yesterday. So I'm not going to make you rehash everything. But overall, how do you feel? Did you feel like you put together a unit that can compete here, that you have something to work with?
I feel like it is it's definitely got a lot of pieces that I like. I don't know if it works well cohesively together.
Okay.
And I definitely feel like I have some weak points that are going to need to be addressed. Like I had an opportunity to take David Bednar in the 10th, and I didn't, and I should have.
Instead
I
of
feel
Quan,
like,
and he went the very next pick. Quan's a good average compliment to Schwarber, though, and I imagine
that's
you
what
were
I was
thinking that.
And I needed some speed too, and I think Quan will get back to stealing some more bases and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that was a mistake. I think, and I ended up having to like just kind of lock up Boston saves.
You pivoted to the
could be really
Boston
bad if like
yeah.
Garrett Whitlock becomes the closer out of nowhere or something like that. So
Justin Slayton takes over, and you're like, what the hell? Neither of my guys.
It'll be like the season where I drafted like all the Nationals guys, like Blake Trinan and I can't remember who the other guys
Sean
were.
Doolittle, maybe? Is he still around?
Coda Glover.
Coda Glover, yes.
And then they traded. Maybe they traded for Trinan, and it was all like I had like 4 Nationals relievers,
and it just blew up your plan
on a DC, and like none of them got saves. Like it was.
I've been there, and that's why I like to pay for saves. Okay, so. There's BARF. Let's go to TARF here. And I just want to start with a little game where you try to guess my team originally, right? So just, you look at whatever you want. You can look at late runs if you want, but probably going to be looking at that top core there of a handful of players. And first thing I want to ask you, though, is are there any teams that you're eliminating off rip just looking at the first handful of picks? Maybe not. I'm just asking if there's any that do jump out to you or like, well, it's definitely not this team.
Well, I mean, I think I've already figured out your team, but
okay.
I think if I was playing the elimination game, I don't think you're taking De La Cruz at 6. I don't think you're taking Carroll at 8. So I don't think you're taking Yordan at 11.
Definitely right about that. Yep.
I don't. Let's see. Where did Acuna go? Acuna went in the 3rd round.
He actually fell, and I kind of considered him there in the second. I was like, oh, dang, he's falling. But then I didn't want to deal with it.
I don't think you're starting off your pitching with Mason Miller and Jacob deGrom. So, like, I think I can eliminate.
That eliminates 15.
15.
All right. So
I'm pretty sure your team is 10.
You think my team is 10? Skeens, William Contreras, CJ Abrams, Josh Hader, Kyle Schwarber. Okay. What if I tell you that's wrong? Where do you go
okay.
then?
Okay.
I'm not going to make you guess all the way through till there's one left, but just maybe 2 more guesses here if you want.
All right.
I will say the ones you've eliminated, they were good eliminations. No, it's not any of those that you've already eliminated.
I'm kind of looking through the back half of the draft and seeing like, is there a player that stands out to me as like, oh, this is a Paul.
This is Sporer guy.
You have team 4,
but then go look at pick 7.
Pick 7, Henderson Merrill. Is it 7?
No. Sorry. Team 4, pick 7.
Yeah, Jordan Westbrook.
So that's the whole thing. Okay. Yeah. Yes, you're correct. It is indeed team 4. Who told you? Wesneski?
No, it was Gavin Lux. Yeah. Gavin Lux. I was like, your team. Okay.
Yeah. So I am team 4.
The back half is for sure a U team because I
100%.
like Jackson Jobe in the 18th.
Yep.
I see Ryan Weathers in the 21st.
Evan Carter.
I see Lux. I see Pham. I see Bobby Miller.
Yep.
You actually said Dustin May.
What I really wanted was you to say number 4, no chance, because they took Westberg at 7. So I did take Jordan Westberg, and the guy immediately to my right says, I know I didn't just hear you shit all over Jordan Westberg today, only to take him inside the top 100. To which I said, yes, you did. You absolutely did. And you know what, Justin? I was completely sold by Mr. Jonathan Reynolds, JR the Kid 32, case that he made to us on Twitter. 100%. I thought he laid it out beautifully. And I think I realized, at least for me, that I'm selling Jordan Westberg short. And I 180'd here completely. I think he brought up a lot of amazing points. The first one, which was one that we hammered on a lot. And this changed. This was not our fault, so I'm taking us off the hook here. But if you go look at roster resource right now, he's batting number 4. Remember, he was 8 when we were talking this. And we were saying, I'm not taking number 8 hitter, even in a great lineup, in the top 100. So I had real beef with that, and that was a big part of the reason that I wasn't in on Westberg. But then I think I just wasn't as familiar with as I should have been with his general profile. blood red StatCast page. A lot of speed there that they can tap into. They haven't yet, but the speed is there. And we know sprint speed does not guarantee steals, but it certainly helps them. It builds in your margin for error. So, the fact that he only ran 6 of 9, that could definitely change this year. Gunnar Henderson, I think, had a similarly slow start where he didn't really run all that much. Initially, he was 10 for 13 in that first year, and then 21 for 25 this year. Again, the lineup move was pretty huge. And all in all, he basically said, he's a baby gunner. Are you sold? And I said, yeah, I am, dude. So push came to shove. I took him there in the 7th round, and I'm in. How much, if at all, did the case that Jonathan Reynolds made turn you on Westberg?
I mean, I'll be real honest, not much.
Not at all. Okay. I took him at pick 94, by the way.
There's definitely more here maybe than I gave him credit. I do worry about like that StatCast data kind of falling off a little bit in the second half, where like he was still barreling the ball, but he wasn't elevating it very much.
Still blood red though. Like there's room for some backup for Westberg to still be pretty good there. I think the thing that I would still harp on as a negative case, even though I took him and I'm buying in here on Westy, the plate skills are still pretty weak, right? It's a mediocre strikeout rate and a legitimately bad eye. It reminds me a bit of Jackson Merrill though, right? Where Jackson Merrill is succeeding, and we saw the season that he had last year with similarly poor. Now, he doesn't have quite as many strikeouts with only 17% K rate, but a 5% walk rate as well. And so, like, I understand the value and the desire for players to walk, but it is not a prerequisite for success. So again, Jonathan, well done, man. I was really sold on it. You filled in some knowledge gaps that I had on Westberg. I was judging him, I think, a bit too harshly.
And you're wearing the Orioles hat.
I wore it on purpose. I changed the lights to orange. I was really excited about this because I texted you yesterday. I said, wait till you see what I did in TARF. And I didn't want to give it away. And I just wanted to see if you could guess. Obviously, being the 7th pick, that's not really where you're going to look when you're trying to guess my team. But I was hoping it would catch your eye and say, well, it's not number 7 because no one's taken Westberg in the top 100. But I did it, man. And, I'm open. I'm open to changing my opinions on guys. I don't think that you need to be steadfast on everything and say, I can't possibly move. And I think a lot of it was filling in knowledge gaps. Like I said, it's not that I've completely flipped some opinions that I had. It's that I had a base opinion that wasn't very strong about guy batting low in the order with mediocre plate skills. I didn't really want to be part of that, to a guy who's batting higher in the order with a lot better skills than I thought. I can overlook the walks, and boom, here we go, pick 7. So very excited to get Westberg and see how it goes. Now, if it fails, Jonathan, you're going to eat so much shit in the fall. I'm obviously going to no, I'm just kidding. It was a great thread. Very well done, JR the Kid 32. I really did appreciate it. Even if I hadn't taken him, I thought it was really thorough, and you came at it really, really nice, coming in saying, hey, can I just try to sell you guys? And even if I hadn't come on board, I think that was really cool that he did that. Any other general thoughts on my team here? We did share a 3rd round pick, Matty O. I got a little bit nipped on closers there. I wanted somebody a little bit better than Munoz, but I got the last big one before the big drop off. I got our boy Isiah. I'm getting Isiah everywhere, dude. I am so back in on our guy Isiah. Crochet Castillo's a little bit light at the top there, and admittedly my number 3 is Spencer Arrighetti, and then I just pounded pitching in the middle. I'm going to work pitching during the season. I've done it before. I'm doing it again. I've got no problem with it. I believe in Crochet. Castillo is a rock, and then from there it's a lot of gambles. I will freely admit that. But I asked you a question, then I started talking. So what are your general thoughts on my squad?
So I like definitely certain aspects of this team. I love Jose Ramirez. I mean, really your first 3, like Jose Ramirez, Garrett Crochet, Matt Olson. I like that. Like that's a really strong start. I do worry about kind of the overall construction in terms of the risk profile. Albies being an injury prone guy, Trout, Kenley Jansen being 80 years
Trout's
old.
price though, right? 10th round. Yeah. I was taking him at the 4 or 5 turn last year, and including in one league with Royce.
I don't think it's an individual pricing. I think it's more of the collection of it.
Right.
Especially like in the rotation. Like I love Garrett Crochet. I think we collectively as a community have not thought about the fact that Crochet like dealt with a lot of injuries early on. He made a massive innings jump. And like, I love the skills. If you take off injuries like a video game, like I do think he's a top 3 or 4 pitcher in baseball. But like, I think there's a lot more risk than the ADP suggests in a guy like Crochet, and I probably won't end up with him in a lot of leagues. And then pairing that with, you know, like Gavin Williams, with will Jackson Jobe have a rotation spot? Will Ryan Weathers throw more than 120 innings? Will Bobby Miller stop getting hit in the head?
I felt terrible for him. Hey, walked off on his own power though. He's already throwing again, so you know that's a dart throw. He could be part of the first cuts. Round 26.
I definitely like a lot of aspects of it though, because I think you did a really good job of balancing getting every single offensive category early on to give yourself a lot of options, kind of going. I think the only like real critique I have that's negative would be, I think there is a lot of injury proneness that's kind of paired together that you just got to hope it doesn't hit all at the same time.
It could hit at the wrong time and put me in a real negative position.
But I mean, that can happen to anybody, even if you don't like.
But I have heightened risk. That is fair, right? And I'm the first guy to say, do not overvalue the risk and say that, you know, this pitcher is going to get more, you know, but when you have his history the way like a Trout does, and some of these older guys that I took,
Jonathan India, Taylor Ward,
I do have a higher profile. Look at 10, 11, 12 there. After I made the 12th pick, I said, all right, that's 3 Angels in a row, guys. I have to quit. I obviously have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I clowned myself for taking 3 Angels in a row. But no, I like them. It's Trout, Jansen, and Ward. I paired Jansen with Munoz, though. So, you know, I got 2 legit closers, one kind of up and coming, one monster. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, though. I think it's a core that can start to, the foundation works, and then we'll kind of put some work together with it. I've come out of a main with a pitching staff like this, where I had 2 guys that I really trusted, and then it really jumped down to that 3rd guy because I take closers. You know, so Munoz and Jansen, they're sort of my 3rd starter in a way, because when 3rd and 4th starters were going, I was taking closers. So Arrighetti as the number 3, that is scary. I will not deny that. But then I went Arrighetti, Gavin Williams, Ronel Blanco, Jackson Jobe, Ryan Weathers, Bobby Miller, Wesneski, Quinn Matthews, and Dustin May. And I'm hoping to get a few big hits there, and then I will piece it together. I still think you can work a staff during the season. I did get trumped on our boy Andrew Heaney. I wanted him to be my last pick. I could have just taken him when I took May, but I was like, I like May here, and I was going to go with a Heaney at the very last pick there, but somebody took him a few picks. Can't really complain about getting sniped in the 30th round. You had 29 rounds to get him. But I did think that was a good pick, especially with them opening with Miami. But all in all, I'm very happy. It started with Ramirez, who I desperately wanted. I would have not cried if I had taken Judge or something like that. But I really wanted my boy J-Ram to start everything off.
If you think your rotation's scary, you should go look at the BARF board, because there are 2 teams, good friends of ours, who drafted some scary fucking pitching rotations.
Give me team numbers here.
All right, so I want you to go and look at team 6 and team 14.
Team 6. Oh my gosh. Even their closer. Like, I'm scared of Bautista. So even their ace closer is a little bit scary. Garrett Cole, Bautista, Pepio, Heel, Bradley. Okay. That is pretty scary. Now, I do like the Olsen, Suarez. I'm a little iffy on Bayo, JV. Is this Doug's team?
It is not.
Okay. There's a lot of good friends that we have in that league, so I don't want to, you know.
It's one of our goodest friends.
One of our goodest friends. It's Eno's team then.
It's Eno's team, yeah.
Yes, it is. Okay. So, but if you're going to trust anybody with fixing a rotation in season, I think it's going to be Mr. Eno Saris.
And this is what he did last season and won the league and was like 5th or 6th overall in Earth. He was like, now part of this was like, if you look at the BARF draft board, like there is a massive amount of yellow in one spot, and it's Dalton Del Don kind of screwing everybody, and that's
his MO. If you've ever drafted with Dalton,
yeah. So I think was kind of forced into this. I don't know that he would have necessarily done it this way had he had what he wanted, but I trust to kind of make it work. Like I said, he did make it work last season. Now Team 14.
Oh, didn't even draft a pitcher until the 7th. This is an interesting setup.
And he drafted a reliever in the 7th. He didn't draft his first starter until the 8th round.
Right, and it's Freddie Peralta. I don't I don't have I don't have the intestinal fortitude to do that. Like, do I have enough confidence in myself that I can get all these pitchers in the middle? Sure, but I can't let all the closers go. I can't let all the aces go. So I have a hard time with it. And he did get Suarez, who is kind of one of those last like really good ones. But then, Peralta, Wu is very scary. They could be great, but they're very scary. Flaherty obviously has enough concerns that teams didn't want him to the 4 or 5 year deal that he was definitely looking for. I do like Lugo at 12. I will say, and I think I've said this, all throughout the offseason. 10 years ago, Lugo's going in the 6th round based on the season that he just had. The market has really, really shaped up on guys like this. So 12th round Lugo's actually really nice for somebody who punted pitching.
Yeah.
Is this Howard?
It is Howard. Yeah.
Hey, look at that. I got
really
one.
good call. And Howard and I were sitting like right across from each other. He goes, "I'm going to win offense." I was like,
Yes,
yeah,
he is.
I think
J-Rod, Vlad Jr., C.J. Abrams, Pete Alonso, Adley Rutschman, Luis Robert Jr. to start off your offense is pretty darn hot. But he is going to have to figure out the pitching a bit. He did get my boy Jose Soriano, which I like. So, he's got some workable assets to definitely have his foundation for pitching, but it's going to take some waiver wire work. And I could see he and Eno battling for some guys there, and that can drain your fab if it gets too dicey there. So that'll be interesting to see. But I'm so happy to be part of Earth. Yeah. I love that you started this. Now, how many years? Do you know the years offhand? Gotta be coming up on a decade, no?
Yeah, BARF I think has been going since 2017.
And when did it first expand, and who was the impetus there? Was it Dave, your boy?
No, so what happened was Baseball Pods, Chris, he was like, "Hey, would you be cool if I started like a BARF type league out in New England?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be awesome." And then so he started the second one, which is Nerf. And then all of a sudden people started going like, well, I'm going to make one. And then JT, who is the commissioner of WRF, which is the Washington area one, was like, well, why don't we make an overall? Yeah. And that's kind of, and Dave has taken over a lot of kind of the day-to-day of it just because I am so busy.
Right.
And really done a great job. And he kind of came up with the idea for the charity angle. So we have an overall for individual overall, but we also have a league overall, whichever league does the best overall compared to the other leagues gets, part of everybody's buy-in goes to that, and it is donated to a charity. And
I'd like to point out,
killed us every year.
I'd like to point out that the gentleman who keeps the standings of each area is in my league, and he wanted me to razz you for BARF really bringing up the rear there.
Yeah,
he said BARF is definitely the low end, and you got to get your garbage together there. So Matt wanted me to point that out to you.
It's not me, and there's only so much I can do.
Well, no, I'm just kidding.
No, BARF. I made an impassioned plea again this year to stop sucking. And like, even if your team isn't very good, like, keep grinding because it helps us. Because it's not like, the top half of the league can be great, but if the bottom half of the league isn't making,
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Like, and I replaced a couple people this year, like, I was like, hey, like, in July you stopped doing pickups, and that really hurt everybody, in terms of.
And if you don't have time, that's fine. But like, then you can't be in it, and that's.
And
okay.
Don't get me wrong, like, I want to win the overall myself, and I want the league to win the overall. But really, I just want to hear Dave stop fucking talking shit about it. Like, that's most.
Speaking of, did you see where Glarf drafted?
Yes.
Can I get Glarf next year?
Yeah, I'm going to be moving to Indianapolis next year, apparently, or something like that. So, just so I can draft with Glarf.
We're just going to move into the Midwest there. They drafted at Comerica, or like, it was overseeing Comerica, or were they in Comerica?
I think they were in Comerica.
They were in Comerica. That's what I thought. Yeah, Jenny sent me the picture, which reminds me I need to send her my team because we were going to trade teams there, and I was just leaving my draft, and I said, hey, I'll send you my team. So Jenny, if you're listening to this and I still haven't sent you my team, then you can yell at me. But anyway, awesome setup. Love what you and Dave have done with this. I've been obviously following it from the outside looking in, and I've been invited to TARF several years. It just never worked with the schedule. Now with everything in February, I really didn't have any way to say no. Not that I was looking for a reason. I'm just saying like that opened it up perfectly for me. March is impossible. February became doable, and we went and got it done yesterday. So I'm geeked to be in, and hopefully I can have a good showing my first year. But let's finish this hot corner because we got about an hour here, which is fine because we have the last two tiers and then the anyone else long shots. And as has been the case now since part 2, we discussed a lot of the guys that are coming here because we do have the positional eligibility at 5 games. So a lot of guys are getting into a bunch of different positions. Doesn't mean you can't add some thoughts, but we have Jose Miranda, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Otto Lopez, Isiah Kiner-Falefa, Matt Vierling, Brooks Lee, Matt Shaw, Justin Turner. All but Hayes and Vierling have been discussed. Including Shaw and Turner very recently when Turner signed and Shaw had no oblique. So I really don't think we need to discuss either Cub right now. As far as Miranda goes, I liked him a little bit more than you, but we both had positive things to say. And now I see how many Twins you're drafting. I'm sure you like Miranda a little bit more. But one of the big takeaways that we had, which I think still rings true, and if you didn't listen to that first base situation, I'll point out, why buy Yandy Diaz when you can get Miranda to do the same thing quite a bit later? Now, also want to point out that Miranda's not first base eligible everywhere, so it's more of a CI situation, but that's okay because that's probably where you're putting either of those guys anyway. And Miranda goes at 354, whereas Yandy goes at pick 200. And I'd rather just go for Miranda, even with some of the playing time concerns that are there for that ball club. Let's get to our boy Cabrisi. And I say our boy because we've had a lot of debates on him in recent years, and I got to be honest, I'm taking the L lately, right? It has not panned out the way that I've wanted, and so your reluctance to really dive in and kind of wish cast on him and really project more than is there has been correct. Now, the year we had the biggest argument, I was right about the power. It did double. He went from 7 to 15 homers. However, he completely cratered last year. Nothing went well. 4 and 11 in 96 games, homers and steals, that is, with a 233 average, a 59 WRC plus. Rock bottom here at age 27 when everything's supposed to be magic. Where do we go at age 28 for our boy Cabrisi? Is there any hope for Ke'Bryan Hayes, especially as a pick 340?
I mean, if you've ever been a Ke'Bryan Hayes believer, I think now's the time, right?
You might as well stick around now, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at my BARF League draft now, I will say that, and I mentioned this to you, I can't remember if I mentioned it on the pod with Jason or not. I double booked myself during BARF, and I had to leave early. So I had to leave in like the 22nd or 23rd round and draft my car. And so I was like spamming names at the end. And I needed someone who could be my CI. That was going to play every day. And Ke'Bryan Hayes is going to play every day.
And you got him.
Do I think that he is necessarily going to have a breakout season? No, but a lot of the underlying skills are still there. Like, he can still hit the ball hard. He had a 43% hard hit percentage, a 110 max exit velocity. The XBA was better than the BA. He still makes a ton of contact, almost 94% zone contact, which is fairly close to elite. I think all the skills are there for him to be good, and I think you'll know very, very quickly. He's one of those guys, like, you draft at the end of your draft, and you go, like, hey, he gets hurt, I drop him, I move on to someone else. But, if he goes 15-30, am I going to be surprised? I'm not. I think
20 steals before, double digits each year. The real thing would be staying healthy, and that's been a big issue for Ke'Bryan Hayes. He's maxed at 560 plate appearances. If anyone's saying, what the heck do you mean 30? It would take a full season, 600 plus plate appearances. But if he's healthy, he's an every single day guy without a doubt because he plays great defense over at third base. And that would be his calling card, would be the ability to steal bases there with a little bit of chip in pop and a decent batting average. So it can still be there for Ke'Bryan. And as a long-term believer, I'll pay pick 340. And that's basically what you paid, 338. Totally fine pick there for Ke'Bryan Hayes. So I got no issues with that. And I am willing to probably still get a share or two this year just in case. Otto Lopez, he's a fringe qualifier at third base anyway, but we talked about him as cheap speed, who we thought was okay. Isiah Kiner-Falefa, we weren't particularly interested. He does have true 20-plus games at short and third. Matt Vierling, let's talk a bit Matt Vierling from my beloved Tigers. He was one of our all-stars last year. Now, not legitimately, he didn't make the all-star team, but what I mean is, as somebody who watched damn near all 162, at least listened or watched, I would say, a buck 50. I probably only missed like 12 games last year. It was such a fun team to follow. Even before they really turned it around, it was still a compelling team to watch. But Vierling just came through. Like he just had so many moments where things got done. So he puts up a 3-WAR season, 16 homers, 57 ribs, 6 steals, 257 average, 80 runs. So not some crazy fantasy season, but for an everyday watcher of the Tigers, there was a lot to like from Matt Vierling. And he did that all while playing a bunch of different spots. 51 games at third, 13 in left, 57 in center, 36 in right, a handful at DH, even one over at first base. So he was a nice little Swiss Army 4 corners and center field knife for AJ Hinch to deploy. 28 years old. Can you build on this, or did we just see the high watermark for Matt Vierling?
I think we probably have seen either the high watermark or close to it, but like that doesn't mean like you shouldn't draft Vierling. He's going outside the top 300 picks.
Right.
They love him as kind of this guy who can play in a number of different spots.
Mm-hmm.
He makes almost 89% zone contact. He doesn't swing outside of the zone. He's got a little bit of pop, a little bit of speed. Like he's a perfect little glue guy in a deeper league in a 15.
Yes. Third base, outfield, so infield, outfield, which I know I harp on all the time, but we love that. Penciled in as the everyday right fielder right now, too. Not even short side platoon. Like he's penciled in to play every day. And I think, glue guy. That's exact perfect description of Matt Vierling. If he popped 20, I wouldn't be surprised. That's a few more balls going over the fence there. Now the steals, 6 last year. I'll probably just pencil him in for another 6. Don't try to get cute with that. But that's fine. And he scored 80 runs last year on a team that really wasn't that good offensively. If they take a step forward, a full year of Parker Meadows doing his thing, Green and Carpenter stay healthy for a full year, Colt Keith doing his thing, maybe he can score another 80 plus this time around. So
it's not a bad lineup to be hitting 5th in. Like it's just like, so I think Vierling's one of those guys that, he's boring, and you probably in your 10s and 12s, he probably isn't going to register very often outside of like streaming a dude or picking up a guy because of injury. But in 15s, like if he gets 600 plate appearances, like I don't know, like a 17-7 kind of season with a 260 batting average, like you'll take that.
Yeah, those kind of guys can be really nice. And again, that flexibility third outfield can really help you when you're doing free agent pickups and stuff. Brooks Lee, we discussed at second base. We're big fans. He qualifies. He only qualifies at third and second in sub 15 team qualification leagues, though. So not a lot of third base eligibility unless you play something light. And as I mentioned, Shaw and Turner, we already discussed. Anybody in this group here that you will have additional thoughts on?
No, I think we covered them all pretty good. I like, both Brooks Lee and Matt Shaw quite a bit. I think that, especially if Shaw is healthy, all spring, like I think he will win the third base job and be very good. So, and right now, like Shaw's price is like, let's see, where was it? Oop, I went right past it.
220?
Yeah, 218. Like I'll take that all day. Like I would take Shaw over probably Holiday, who's going right there, and over Arenado, and I think Shaw is a really fun kind of guy that usually these guys get pushed up into the top 100, and you're getting him outside top 200 right now.
Dustin McComas in TARF yesterday got him at 278, which I thought was amazing.
Ooh.
Really, really sharp pick there. And again, I was sitting there. Obviously, I had different needs I was trying to address, and I kept seeing him, and I kept playing that game of chicken. That's when I was getting all these pictures, and I just didn't think I could ignore that. And so, I ended up letting him go there, and he took him in the 19th round, which I thought was a really sharp pick. So he went in
the 15th round of BARF.
Yeah, that's more in line with his standard ADP for Shaw. So Dustin definitely got a deal there. And so far the reports have been good on the oblique. Now obliques can be a pain in the butt, and it only takes like one bad swing to kind of bring it back into the mix. But so far the reports have been like doing great, resumed hitting, he's throwing, all that sort of stuff there. So reasons to be positive on Shaw's health right now, and I think he's got a good shot to win that job. Let's go to tier 8, the last one here in Lucas's rankings. So we discussed all but 3 of them. Dylan Moore plays pretty much everywhere. Yoán Moncada, we weren't that excited about in LA. Ernie Clement in Toronto, meh. José Caballero was what we would call empty speed. You can get some steals, but he's going to actively hurt you everywhere else. Josh Smith is going to be more of a super util. He doesn't have a spot to play right now, but he didn't really yet coming into last year and ended up with a ton of plate appearances because there are injured guys there and he can cover any of them, infield, outfield. In fact, I think there was a recent quote from Boch that said by the end of spring, he'll have played everywhere but catcher at this point. José Tena, who we have not talked about, Noelvi Marte out in Cincinnati. I actually can't remember what we said about him, and I didn't get to go back to listen to that. Your boy Josh Rojas and Jace Jung. So Tena, Rojas, and Jung are the 3 we have not discussed. What were your thoughts on Marte, if you remember? Like, where are you on him as a buyback for the Reds?
I just don't know where he plays right now. I mean, I think
he's on the outside looking in, right?
Yeah, like, and someone asked me in my chat, like, well, should I downgrade like all the Reds because there's so many mouths to feed? I don't think
we went through this last year,
and it's exactly what I said in my chat this morning, which was like, we thought the exact same thing at this point last year, and then all of a sudden they were looking for bodies, right? Like,
yeah, Nick Martini was starting consistently in the first month.
Yeah, so like, I wouldn't downgrade any Red necessarily. But I do think that Marte is on the outside looking in, and I think he needs multiple injuries in order to find playing time. Plus, I also think he needs work in the minor leagues. The dude needs to learn how to make more contact consistently. So I would not be drafting Marte anywhere. He's more of a pick him up if he is playing well in AAA and they have a spot for him.
I would agree with that. And that rings familiar as to what we might have said about him when discussing him on, would it have been third base? Or, I mean, shortstop. I'm trying to think where we even
did we even? I don't even know.
You know what? My dumb ass might have it wrong that we didn't even discuss him anywhere else. I'm looking at it right now. I think maybe shortstop, but I'm checking. No, we didn't. Okay, so he was fresh there. My bad. So there. At least I didn't forget what we said. We just hadn't said anything. So yeah, I actually co-sign everything you say there about Marte. He's penciled in to start in the minors, which I do think is fair. So yeah, don't draft him anywhere. Maybe he could be one of your stashes. And I only do like 2 stashes max in a draft and hold, folks. I'll always reiterate it. Do not get caught up doing a ton of stashes. It will go poorly for you 9 out of 10 times in a 50-round draft and hold. So if you have 1 or 2 that are going to start in the minors, maybe 1 injured guy, 1 minors, he could be your guy as a late pick, but I'd probably look elsewhere.
I'd go a different direction. Go for some guy who's got some massive upside somewhere.
Yeah. Let's talk José Tena. And there is no tilde, so it is Tena, not Tena. He is penciled in as at least the strong side third baseman with the Nats there, and I've got some intrigue with him. I'm kind of buying in a bit here. He didn't wow anybody in 41 games with Washington last year, 3 homers, 6 steals, and an 87 WRC plus, but he hit 274. Does strike out a bit too much for somebody who has no idea what a walk is. I think the first time he took 4 balls, they were like, you get first base. He's like, oh, what? And didn't know what the heck to do. But yeah, 4%, obviously, that's pretty bad. He did have better rates in the minors, so maybe he will be able to pick it up as he kind of finds his footing in the majors. But I think he's one of these boring, cheap accumulator types, if they do commit to him, even if it is just on the strong side, because, you know, strong side platoons, you can still get to 450 plate appearances, sometimes even 500. I have not done my breakdown of lefties and righties per division that I like to do each year to kind of see like what sort of lefty load he might be facing in the NL East. But I like José Tena. I've been gushing all offseason about this Nats lineup and how it is on the rise. And I think Tena can be part of that there. Just kind of, again, boring 50-round draft and hold, very late reserve pick in a 15-teamer, sort of guy who can accumulate some decent numbers. What do you think of Tena for the Nats?
I like Tena. I think the big issue is
Tena. No, there's no tilde, so it's not Tena. Tena. That's fine too, but it is not Tena. I learned that last year, so I'm just sharing my knowledge.
I like him. The problem is he can't hit lefties.
Sure. So he will be platoon for sure.
He will definitely be platoon. He hit 208 versus left-handed pitching last year, and hit 292 versus right-handed pitching. So it's actually to his benefit that he does not face lefties, because
Right.
I don't think he's going to be very good at that. There is some pop in this bat. Like I know, like I think most people are looking at him as kind of a boring accumulator with some speed, but like I think there's a little bit of pop in the bat if he can elevate. I think
That's
the
where
big
I'm at.
question is, can he elevate enough? And will he actually, I think very similar to stolen bases, like sometimes like, hey, home runs can be a product of what a guy is trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in Tena, he does not try to elevate the ball. He had like a 7.5-degree launch angle. Usually want double that at least for power.
Right.
So I think this is going to be more of a, hey, there will be times where he does hit for some power, but for the most part, he's going to be trying to just get on base via the base hit. But he makes a good amount of in-zone contact. He strikes the ball fairly well. Well, he doesn't walk, like you said, really at all. Like his swing and strike rate was just 11% last year. Like I think
that's not terrible.
Like, yeah, I think like this could be a pretty decent, like, he's not going to be a 0 in the power, but he'll steal a bunch of bases and give you a good batting average. So like, could he not be, I don't know, like Joey Ortiz-ish?
Yeah, that's a good comp. I was going to say reverse Vierling just because we just discussed Vierling, where it's like 8 homers, 20 steals. And, you were saying like upper teens homers and 7-8 steals for Vierling. So flip it there. Decent batting average, decent team. Obviously, Vierling's in a better lineup spot. But Tena could maybe even move up. Maybe. I don't know. Again, I like this crew. I'm not saying he would move to the top of the order, but if Ruiz has another tough season, maybe he could at least move up to 7. Or if there's an injury, maybe he can move up. But even if he's just 8, I'll take it. It's a deep league play anyway for José Tena. I'm interested. And they got him from the Guardians last year, by the way. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about your boy Josh Rojas. And I say your boy, I don't know where you're at these days, but you were a longtime fan for quite some time. He's part of that mix with the White Sox. Is he going to get anything going? Now, we got him penciled in for 5th as another strong side platoon guy, playing second base out there. Are you back in? I don't remember if you were in on him last year, but are you back in on Josh Rojas with the White Sox with playing time galore in front of him?
Yeah, I mean, no, not really. Like, he's just not very good. Like, he never developed the way I thought he was going to. I remember, like, battling over him.
This is going to be me talking about Gavin Lux next year.
Yeah, I remember battling with Alex Chamberlain over Rojas 1 year at Outlaws and being like, am I really about to spend like $14?
Oh yeah, because Alex Chamberlain's was a huge Rojas guy as well.
Alex Chamberlain made me look like a Josh Rojas hater, is how much he loved Josh Rojas. And I remember winning that battle, and then him getting.
But did you win? Did you?
No, I didn't win the league either. Either did Alex. But like, I mean, that's kind of that's what you get when you fight over Josh Rojas. But no, like AL only, he's gonna play. Like he'll probably be on the strong side of a platoon.
Because he can play literally everywhere.
Yeah. And this is like a team full of guys who can play. Like that's it. Like Mike Tauchman leading off, Josh Rojas, Lennon Sosa. Like it's just a weird.
We're gonna get to some more guys on their team too. Like you said, they've just piled up guys who can just kind of play a bunch of spots. I'm with you. I don't really see a whole lot here, but like you said, AL only. I would probably give Josh Rojas a look in the 46th to 50th round of a draft and hold. If he's going higher than that, I would have no interest. But that late, okay, I could get behind it just to plug in a guy who's going to get some PT that I might need to use every once in a while. He goes in the 36th round. That's a little too rich for my blood.
Here's the problem with Rojas for me is like
his
if
skill.
I want, well, yeah, I mean that too, but like if I'm gonna draft a guy like Rojas, I want him eligible at multiple positions, and
and he doesn't have it anymore.
He's got second base in Yahoo, but like you're not drafting him in Yahoo. Yahoo usually plays 10 or 12 team like with smaller rosters, like
3 outfield, no corner, no middle.
Yeah,
right.
So like. I don't know where you're drafting Josh Rojas. Like, you shouldn't. Like, maybe a White Sox only league. Like, if that's something you're really
those are very popular. Yes. Yeah.
What is a hacking mass? Like
Hacking
a hacking
mass,
mass
yes.
would be a great spot.
So what that was Baseball Prospectus used to do this thing where you try to draft the worst team. The thing was, though, you don't just draft some Scribini who plays 20 plate appearances. You need
No,
volume to actually
you
win.
drafted Chris Davis, the Orioles Chris Davis,
right,
because you knew he was going to get 600 terrible plate appearances.
Brian Hayes last year was an all-star in hacking mass, and it was an acronym that I don't remember what it means anymore. But yeah, that's where Josh Rojas. I don't think so. But it was cool. It was a really neat little concept that they had where, you had to draft poor players, but poor players who were actually playing. Let's go to Jace Jung. Back to my Tigers here. On the outside looking in right now, I think. Well, no, actually, we haven't penciled in for third base. I forgot. I was living in the dream world where we signed Bregman. Which that would have been so nice, because then all of a sudden you're putting Jace Jung like on the bench or back in AAA, and then it's a nice piece to have who could come up in the season. Instead, he's now penciled in to start at third, which I don't hate. I'm intrigued by him. I've always been a big fan of Josh Jung, his brother. My man cannot hit a fastball, though, and that's a pretty difficult thing to do, or to have as a negative trait as a major leaguer. He struck out 31% of the time in his 94 plate appearances last year. He takes his walks, so those aren't all like flailing and having no idea what the zone is. He knows the zone, he gets deep and counts, but then push come to shove on a 3-2 pitch, and they just gas him. And I cannot tell you how many times that happened last year. Actually, given the data parsing that we have these days, I probably could tell you exactly how many times that happened. But it was frustrating because that was his flaw in his profiles coming up for Jace Jung, and you saw it crystallized immediately when he got up. Love the 16% walk rate. Don't love the 31% K rate. What do we get from Jace Jung, in his first full year here?
I think he's a quad A player, or at least he is right now. I really think a Bregman signing would have been perfect because they could send him down and let Jung kind of
he didn't want our money
develop. Yeah. That, which I get. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in Detroit either. I'm just kidding.
Screw you. Good places to live. It's a city on the rise.
You don't want to live in Detroit either.
My parents moved me. No, truly, I wouldn't because of the weather. I moved there for my teams and for some of the family I still have, but obviously the weather would absolutely kill me. But I agree with Jung that he is more quad A right now, where I don't think he can be an everyday guy.
I'm not saying forever, so he's still 24 years old. There's still plenty of time, but I honestly think him starting in the majors is probably the worst possible thing for him. I think he needs to go down and really learn how to hit, because the hit tool is severely lacking right now. And like I said, he can't even catch up to fastballs. So I don't know what they're going to do. Honestly, I think what they should do is put Vierling back.
Put Vierling back there. Yep.
Yeah. And just let Vierling play third until Jung is ready. Because they have enough outfielders on this roster for them to be, moving guys around and stuff, especially if Carpenter can play the outfield at least half the time. So to me, I wish they would kind of send Jung down, and they may. If he's struggling in spring, they may do that.
And maybe he improves in spring. We'll keep an eye on it. I will say at least the price point is very friendly at $492. I haven't been getting him anywhere. I don't intend to. But if he is somebody you believe in, Jace Jung, and you are snagging him up in like a draft and hold, at least you're not paying much. That's okay. But I really want to see something this year and revisit him for 2026. All right, let's go into the anyone else here, because there's a lot of interesting. Well, there's a lot of guys. I don't know how many of them are interesting. But our first guy is interesting, and it's a guy that we love. He couldn't have had a worse year last year, just from the fact that he was traded from the literal best team to quite literally the single worst team, and that's our boy Miguel Vargas. Going from the Dodgers to the White Sox has to be pretty brutal, and I'm not saying that that is what spurred him to play so terribly, but it couldn't have gone worse, man. He went from a 108 OPS plus to 14 in 42 games. He put up -1 win. And again, I don't know if it was wow, I just went from the best situation to the worst. My life sucks and I'm going to play like crap, or if things just didn't go well for him in a small sample. I am still willing to jump back in. In fact, he was my last pick yesterday in TARF, still just 25. Hopefully he understands, hey, this is my lot in life. I'm with this team, but I do have full-time burn, right? You weren't playing in LA anyway. I understand you probably still would rather be a Dodger than a White Sox, but maybe not if you really want to play and prove yourself, right? Because this is a better spot for him, Miguel Vargas, to get everyday burn. Are you back in on our boy?
I don't think so.
Aw, boo. Quitter.
I think what I said about Vargas when he was coming up through the minor leagues is kind of what he is going to turn out to be, which is a much better real life player than a fantasy player. He's a dude who can get on base, but he doesn't really have a carrying tool for fantasy.
That is true.
Like he just doesn't have a ton of power. He doesn't have a ton of speed. He's just got a little bit of everything. I think that he will be kind of this like glue guy in deeper leagues. That is fine. But the problem is
boring
like,
accumulators, though.
I do too, but I prefer them on good teams. Like
that's very fair, especially because he's slated at least right now to be batting 8th. If he was in the top half of the lineup, I think now he can move up. Your boy Josh Rojas being 5th, I don't think that has to hold or will hold, to be honest.
I mean, especially with how much he can walk.
Like for Vargas.
Get Vargas at the top of the lineup. Like,
right.
Why is Mike Tauchman leading off?
Well, because that's the one thing he can do.
I understand, but like Tauchman's not part of any good.
No.
And Vargas could be. So like,
he's Vargas 34,
or let Vargas hit second or third in this lineup. In front of some of the actual decent bats that they've got.
Right. Like, I think that'd be better.
Vargas hitting 8th makes 0 sense, but
totally agree.
Like the White Sox also don't care about winning right now because they this is the year they need to suck so that way they can get a top tier pick.
Right, because they couldn't
pick last year. So to me, like I think that Vargas is interesting in deeper on base percentage leagues, but really there isn't a whole lot here.
Sure. I can't refute that. Right? Like I have some hope. I'm interested in Vargas, but I can't sit here and be like, no, there's this, that, and the other, because no, the hell there isn't. One thing I will say, and I don't have time to look up all of the lineups, he's batting 4th today. So the 8th is just a guess, right? That's our guess on roster resource. That is not the Bible. So keep an eye on that. Was it Kurland who used to run the spring lineup?
Yeah, he still does. He's still
okay. Did I say 4th? I meant 3rd. He's batting 3rd today, and he batted.
I would love that. Like I don't think he's gonna be batting 3rd very often in this lineup, but put him in 2nd. Let him bat right after Tauchman. Go
right. So you got a guy on 1st a ton of the time, and then you got Robert threatening behind. So maybe he gets a few better pitches. Why the heck not? Now, I understand putting Robert at 2 to get him as many plate appearances as possible, but moving him down from 2 to 3 is not a huge dip.
Yeah.
So I'd go Tauchman, Vargas, Robert, Benintendi, Vaughn. Who gives an F after that? Maybe Colson Montgomery and then
have Robert bat cleanup. Right. If you want to go lefty righty, have Tauchman bat cleanup or not Tauchman, Robert bat cleanup. Like that to me makes a lot more sense. But the White Sox are going to White Sox for a little bit. I do like the direction they're moving long term.
Yeah, they have a good system.
It's going to be ugly for a little bit.
But they've got real pieces there in that system. Today, by the way, it's Tauchman, Robert, Vargas, Gallo. Benny's not in this lineup, so I don't know if it's a day off or a split squad. I think it might just be a day off for him. But we'll keep tabs on that. And if Vargas is batting in that upper 4, I do like him a lot more in these 15-teamers. Like I said, I took him in the 30th round. You do not have to make a big investment. And even as a fan of his, I'm not going to go get him in every league. I don't want to overstock on him, but I want to get a share or two because he's somebody I believed in. And if Vargas can pop off, I'll take it. All right. They also have a bunch of other guys, like I said. Lenyn Sosa, who you briefly mentioned earlier, Brian Ramos. Lenyn Sosa is penciled in as the DH right now. He is a guy who has some utility in terms of it's just beyond disgusting. He qualifies at 3rd and 2nd legitimately, meaning 20 plus games, which is the industry standard. 2 games at first, so not really qualifying anywhere there unless you have 1 game eligibility. You got to put Gallo at DH over Lenyn Sosa, right? At the very least.
I mean, I don't. Who knows?
Right. Do you have any interest in Lenyn Sosa or Brian Ramos?
No.
Ramos is a prospect of some note, 23 years old, did debut last year, 108 plate appearances, had a 64 WRC plus. I can't really construct a why to buy him case because he's not even penciled into the roster right now. So if he breaks camp, maybe there's some of that super deep league play. But yeah, let's not waste too much time on White Sox here. Paul DeYoung, another one of your boys, now out in Washington. Is he going to mess up some of our stuff here with like José Tena? And I guess Tena would really be the one that he's threatening because he's not going to take over short from Abrams or second from Luis Garcia. So yeah,
I think
is he
could
he
be
just his caddy, or does he threaten? Is he just the short side that faces lefties for Tena? Okay.
I think he's the short side, and then kind of just a super utility infielder in case CJ Abrams stays out too late at a casino or something happens to Luis Garcia.
That's a reference to last year when he did that. He did hit 24 homers last year, but it did come with a 227 average and just 56 ribbies. Now that's because he was on the White Sox for most of the year, and then with KC he hit 6 homers, 15 ribbies, only 222. So he's a batting average drain, Paul DeYoung. He might be a pickup in a deep league for a moment here and there, but that's it. Jared Triolo, classic, better real life than fantasy, won the super utility gold glove last year, but he is on the outside looking in right now because despite that great glove, he can't really hit. Do you see anything here for Triolo that he could wiggle his way into the lineup, or are they just going to use him as super util again? He went 9-8 with a 216 average.
No, I don't see much here. I mean,
I don't either.
The problem is like they've got a million of these guys who can play second base, and like I guess like you could see a scenario in which he gets 500 plate appearances because
but would you want that?
Yeah, they have Nick Gonzalez and Isiah Kiner-Falefa, neither of which are inspiring options. But they also have Adam Frazier. Isn't Bay still on this roster somewhere? Probably starting in the minor leagues.
Oh, Yoán Bay? I believe he is. Nick York is actually somebody I actually have some interest in. He's on the 40, and I think the path is cleared maybe a little bit for him to be there. Again, shouts to Triolo for getting the super util gold glove last year. That's cool, but he just can't hit.
These are all placeholders for Tamar Johnson, who's in Double A and going to be up probably towards the end of the year.
Absolutely correct. Let's move to Ezekiel Duran, who was a very interesting pickup for different pockets of last year. Similar to Josh Smith. In fact, basically just right-handed Josh Smith. He can play infield, outfield, all over the place. And because of all the injuries they dealt with, both Smith and Duran were getting a bunch of playing time and, again, becoming 15-team viable for weeks at a time. They get 3 or 4 lefties in a given week. Okay, it's Duran time. They get 6 righties. We're back to Josh Smith. In fact, Smith started to get held for a little while because he was actually playing pretty much every day. Duran qualifies at third, outfield he's got enough for the outfield, 19 in left, 4 in right to get full eligibility there. 10-game eligibility for first base with 12 games there. And if it's 5-game eligibility, he'll add short and second, which is what you would get in Yahoo. What do you think of Ezekiel Duran? Is he just a short side guy, or is there anything else there?
No, I just think he's a short side guy who's going to fall into playing time because there's so many guys who get hurt on this Rangers team at times. But what we saw last year is kind of the bottom part of this profile, which is a guy hey, you might only get 300 really, really gross plate appearances.
Right. And I should have pointed out that it was actually 2023 where he had more viability. And I think people picked him up a bunch last year because of how good he was the year before, and they kept getting burnt. Because, he only had a 609 OPS for Ezekiel Duran. So it actually didn't work out. He had some residual love from 2023, and it never came to fruition last year. Let's stay in Texas, but move to Houston. Is Shea Whitcomb doing anything for you as somebody who could maybe get some playing time there? He's penciled for the minors right now. Anything for Shea Whitcomb?
Not really.
What about Zach DeZenzo?
Nope.
Actually, I don't know where he qualifies. I know Whitcomb does qualify at third traditionally. DeZenzo would be first base with only 14 games there, 3 at third, 3 at DH. DeZenzo, I think, actually has a bit of pop that intrigues me. His raw power is pretty impressive. So I like him more than Whitcomb, but again, he's not third base eligible, so not the time to talk about him. Neither really doing much for me. Let's go to Eggy Rosario, and then we're going to do 3 Yankees and wrap up here. Eggy, out in San Diego, been in our consciousness for a while. I always point out that Tim Kanak is the one who put me on how to pronounce his name. Slated now for the bench as a short side guy, because right now, this is a good team, so I'm not dogging out the Padres. They are a good team, but they do have Jason Hayward and Terso Ornelas penciled into their lineup against righties right now with Connor Joe. Yes. Yes.
Terso Ornelas is this year's Cedric Mullins.
Oh, okay. Well, we will get into that in the outfield because I believe he's actually.
Not really, but yeah, like
But interesting. Okay. So
power, speed,
I
like
won't bag on that
gonna
one as
be
much.
playing like going out to the top 600 picks. Like if you're looking for a dude in a DC to just like throw a random dart and that could go
Terso or Nellis?
yeah, like
Okay.
Ornelas is not like, like, hey, the hit tool is the thing that's in question, but there is power and speed in this profile. Hit 23 home runs, stole 7 bases last year with 297 in AAA. I think they're going to give him a chance to win this job.
We got him penciled in right now.
Yeah, I mean, like I want to say, let me double check his ADP, but I want to say it's like 670. 575 right now.
That's
like,
still super cheap.
Like
we can work with that.
Take a gamble.
Okay. So Terso, my apologies there. I was unfamiliar with your game. Eggy, anything for Eggy here? Is he just a utility guy that better real life, or can you see some juice? He does traditionally qualify at third with 26 games there last year, only 2 games at second. What do we think?
Yeah, I don't see much here. I just like
he was sorry to interrupt you, but he was a steal shy of 2020 at AAA in 95 games. Is that not moving the needle because the hit tool isn't there? He takes his walks.
Yeah, the hit tool is really bad.
It is pretty rough.
Like,
and that's what you think is going to hold Eggy back.
Yeah, I just don't. When you're starting off potentially on the strong or on the weak side of platoon, and your hit tool's bad, like those are two things that are really hard to overcome. So.
I can't deny that. I mean, now again, we are in the like Hail Marys here. He's picked 675. So if he's your guy, if Eggy's your guy, don't be dissuaded from taking the shots on him in the 50-round draft and holds, because that's the only viable spot that we're taking him anyway. But I think you make some compelling points there that if he's sharing with Terso, you want the guy on the strong side, and that would be Terso.
And there's a number of guys like in the minor leagues, like where they have on like they're not on the 40 and stuff, but like Forrest Wall, Oscar Gonzalez, Tim LeCat, like all these type of guys like could easily come up and just take his playing time.
Right. Absolutely. So that is a concern there with Eggy. Cool name, though. Fun name to say. Not E-Guy. I would never pronounce it like that because I'm very cool and I know every name. All right. 3 Yankees here. And 2 of them. Tena.
Tena. Yeah.
I'm going to kill you. 3 Yankees here. One of them is 400 years old. The other 2, I still got love for, man. My Oswald combo. Oswaldo Cabrera, Oswald Peraza, and DJ LeMahieu. Right now, we have Cabrera penciled in at third base, batting 9th, with both LeMahieu and Peraza on the bench. I know because LeMahieu's making money, there is that world where if he's healthy, you can see him playing. How do we think this plays out, and do you have interest in any of the 3?
Not really. I mean, someone's gonna win this job, or they're all gonna share this job, and it's gonna be even worse. So, right. I mean, I guess if I had to like draft one of them, if it was like if I'm in a draft and someone pulls out a gun and goes, "Hey, listen, you need a Yankees third baseman," I guess it's Oswaldo Cabrera.
Yeah, same.
But I think the problem is I think all these guys are going to like share this playing time, and none of them are going to like do well enough to like take this job over or be given the role. Unfortunately, like the Yankees, like they're not the Yankees of old where they'd go, well, $16 million for DJ LeMahieu. We don't really care about that. That's chump change. Like they'll give LeMahieu a shot to win.
That is fair. But maybe he's already hurt or something, because the last 3 days, it's been 2 Peraza and 1 Cabrera, and LeMahieu nowhere to be found. Is he already nursing some sort of injury that
I mean, probably. Maybe it was a stiff wind or something that day. Like, like
be nice, dude.
Like,
it's been rough for LeMahieu lately, though.
I think the problem is like even let's say one of these guys does win the job. Like, how much do we really care about? Like, they're probably going to be hitting 8th or 9th in this lineup.
Sure.
Even if you have. If I give one of them 500 plate appearances, I don't know that carries enough water for any of these guys.
It's the refrain of the episode, but it would be boring accumulator at that point. If you gave me 500 plate appearances from Oswaldo Cabrera, now, I think I can get a double out of him with like a 250 average. And I know that's not geeking you out.
At the bottom of the Yankees lineup is better than being at the bottom of the White Sox lineup, but it's still the bottom of the lineup.
For sure.
And there's a lot of risk that none of these guys accumulate. And
that's the problem, is if it does become a rotating situation there. Now, if you do have one that you like, nothing cost. 580 ADPs for LeMahieu and Cabrera. They're both at the same, they're right by each other. And then Oswald Peraza is completely off the board at 734. So, I mean, I don't think he should be that far away from them. So if you like Peraza, go ahead and get your shares with like literally your 50th pick. Let's see what did Brett say. Brett Hale says, call me hopeful, but I still think they could trade for a third base too. True.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think that is the most likely scenario is they just try to make it work in the first half and they address this position somewhere, whether it's bringing
George would have already gotten Arenado, by the way, but Hal doesn't play that game. But you know, going back to not caring about the money, I think George Steinbrenner would have already said, "Nah, let's just get Arenado in here and lock it up."
I think they will bring someone in to play second or third, and then if it's the second baseman, they'll move Chisholm back.
Jazz goes back to third.
So,
okay,
like I do think at some point, and it may not happen till July, but like now you're talking about an accumulator who may not accumulate because you're going to be potentially sharing the role, and then someone could be traded midseason. Like I'm staying away from that situation.
Totally fair. I mentioned him when he signed. I know you don't care, but I still like Luis Urias with the Athletics. I'm at least intrigued. Again, we're talking 50 round draft. Then hold on, I'm not going to overstate it, but I'm going to keep tabs in spring and see what happens. If he usurps Gio Urshela, then that could be interesting there. I know you're big on Anthony Rendon, which is interesting because he's no, I'm kidding. I do have one more name, and then if you have anybody you want to throw in. Because he got taken from my Tigers, and we did get pillaged a little bit in the Rule 5, because that's what happens when you got a lot of talent, folks. But Gage Workman has an NRI, non-roster invite, and they're giving it, oh, excuse me, he's on the 40, obviously as a Rule 5. Hello, Paul. As a Rule 5, he's on the 40. I know playing time's going to be scant there, but he went 18 and 30 in 126 games at AA last year. He strikes out a ton. 28% at AA for a 24-year-old is bad. That's just legitimately bad. It's that kind of Christopher Morel vibe where it's like when he makes contact, he does damage, but he just doesn't make enough consistent contact, and that's why the Tigers left him available. What do you think of Gage Workman playing with the Cubs right now?
You don't see this very often, but on his hit tool grades, he has a legit 20 grade hit.
Oh no. That's so bad, dude.
Like it's but he's a good defender. Like he's a really good defender. So like,
and he can play multiple spots.
I don't know if he's gonna make this team, especially with the like, the problem is everybody who is on the Cubs bench is out of options.
Okay, let's spin it this way then. They give him back to my Tigers. Then does he threaten Jace over at third?
I think that could be the best case scenario for him, right? Like, because like he is a really good defender, and I think they could just go, hey, listen, we want you to try to hit some bombs, but ultimately what we want you to do is protect our pitchers, right? Especially because we've got a lot of young pitchers that are going to need some protecting. So I could see that being the better scenario. But I mean, I guess like as far as the Cubs go, like if he does stay on the Cubs, like, if he is playing good enough defense where they go, hey, we want you on this team because you'll help protect our pitchers. Like they have John Birdie, Vidal Brujan. Like they can just drop one of those guys.
Exactly.
Like,
if he makes. If Gage Workman makes a spring impact, I think he kicks one of them to the curb. And it's been like 3 games. He does have an 1150 OPS, but we're not going to get crazy on it.
Yeah, he had a home run in his first at bat.
Yes. So, it's a name to watch and see how spring goes. Because as a Rule 5, he'll have to stay on the roster if he makes the team, or he goes back to the Tigers. Now, if he goes back to the Tigers, I'm not saying he'd make the opening day roster or anything, because they can put him back into the minors, and then he can go get some AAA seasoning. But he is also going to be 25. And so I don't think that the Tigers are necessarily thinking that he has to get AAA seasoning. I think they might just be comfortable with what he's done at AA and say, hey, we're going to bring you up relatively early. So it's a situation to watch with Gage Workman. It is super, super deep league. The tough part is his best value is in an only league. And if you take him in an NL only, he could get moved back to the Tigers because they give him back, and then he becomes AL only. So that is the one tough part there. And so maybe it's just a wait and see with Gage Workman. Anybody else that you have anything for here at third base?
So Eric Wagaman was traded from the Angels to the Marlins and may actually play quite a bit. Again, this is like a super deep league type thing. like if he has a role, but like I believe we have him penciled in right now as a short side platoon, at either first base or third base. So like, I think there's a shot that he could be like an NL only or a DC guy, like super deep. Like 744 is his ADP currently.
Yeah.
So
Wagaman is like, again, just dirt cheap. If you're looking to do something, he went 17-10 in the minors last year in 495 plate appearances. Decent plate skills, about 2 strikeouts per 1 walk. That's not too bad with a sub 10% swinging strike rate, 274 average. And on the Marlins, it won't be hard to break into that lineup and move beyond a short side platoon role. No shade, but actually lots of shade to Jonah Bride and even our boy Matt Mervis. Like, neither of them are blocking somebody off if they're performing. By the way, we didn't talk about him at first base. Are you in on Mervis anymore? We used to like him quite a bit.
I think it's like the worst possible landing spot for it.
Of course it is, but
it's not the worst.
there.
Yeah, and that's I was about to say, it's not the worst possible because he at least gets an opportunity to play. But like, it's just a terrible park and such a terrible team, and it looks like he might even just be on the strong side of the platoon. So like,
Yeah,
I don't even know like that there is enough juice here. Like, I guess a DC, I'm willing to take the gamble, but yeah, I think
but you
the
didn't play
shine is-
DCs this year either.
Yeah,
so
I don't
you're
play
not going to
DCs,
get him.
So yeah, he won't be on any of my teams.
No, I think that's fair. Matt Mervis is who we were talking about there because, again, we didn't bring him up at first base. But I think that's going to close the book on the hot corner. And to the outfield we go on Thursday. We will have a special guest, Joe Orico, going to join us, our new colleague at Fangraphs. So we'll be talking with him, start cutting through the outfield a bit, and then we'll have starting pitcher, relief pitcher, and we'll be done. So, a little bit early into March there, we should be done with the previews.
Well, we got
And,
17 starting pitcher episodes.
That's the thing, is it's obviously going to take a while for starting pitcher, but hey, we're up
And
to
I already
3
did relief pitchers with Jason, so we don't have to even cover
then we
relief
don't even have to do relief pitchers. So that's all right. We got outfield and starters, and we are doing 3 episodes a week. Maybe we squeeze in a 4th here and there. Speaking of, got my first episode with Eric Longenhagen, the AL East. I'm going to get that situated. It'll come out this week, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday before Justin, and I talk outfield part 1. So we'll do that. But man,
We're really keeping you busy with all these J names. You have to Justin, Jason, and Joe now.
And I already mixed you and Jason up all the time. So it's not great. It's not great. Are there any Jerrys that we can hire just to make my life even more difficult?
I can't wait till we bring on Jeff.
You can't do that to me. I'll call him Zim. I'll just be like, Zim.
I'm bummed that like TGFBI, like I don't get to actually make the leagues, that they have to randomize it now with their new system. Because I really wanted 1 year to just put all Michaels in one league.
That'd be really funny. Funny. So
just,
I have
Gianella and Michael Stein and
Mike Simeone. I don't know if he's still around playing. He popped up on Twitter the other day. It's good to see him. I like him. Semi-related. Got to bring up my obligatory out of the park reference, but we have these end of the month tournaments every year, and we have prizes for them, and there's usually 7 prizes or 8 prizes. And for one of them this year, I did all Mikes. I did Mike Trout, Mike Mussina, Mike Piazza, Mike Greenwell, Mike Maddox, Mike Hargrove, Mike Marshall, and Mike Moustakis. So I'm right there with you, man. I think that'd be a funny thing to do, but unfortunately, it would have to be randomized this year because of the way the NFBC system works. Did we get league placement yet?
No, I'm still waiting for the last 45 people to sign in out of 390. So I sent them all.
Y'all better get your stuff together.
If you want my cell phone number, I'm going to be texting you to sign up if you have not signed up. So Paul,
I've got your number and I'm already signed up. Look at me. I'm on top of my game.
Paul's on top of stuff this year. So
guys, if I'm ahead of you, you're failing. Get on your game. All right. We will talk in a couple days. Baseball season is here, folks. It's great. I hope you can tell from the excitement in my voice. I'm just so amped. Drafts are in the book. Drafts are still going on. I've got Tout Wars draft and hold that we're doing. I'm in my own DC by myself. This will be my last one of the year. I did 2 with Greg.
Are you doing labor?
Yes, tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Labor tomorrow.
Are you going to be live streaming that?
That's a good question. Maybe I will. I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, why not?
Yeah,
the hell else am I doing? Yeah, exactly.
Send me the link. So I'll jump in and
I absolutely will, and you can come in and clown my team, and maybe I'll get some pictures, before the 12th round or whatever I did.
Try not to draft all Cardinals this year.
That was pretty funny. How'd that work out for me? I did 5 Cardinals in a row, and needless to say, I didn't do well last year.
Yeah.
I was completely tilted to one end. I think I had the best pitching and like the worst hitting ever constructed in the history of the universe last year's. I,
Sounds
I
about
think
right.
that's yeah. It was pretty rough, but this year I'll go for a more balanced team and hopefully be better. Yes, the draft starts tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central, and yeah, I think I will stream twitch.tv/Sporer. I'm glad you brought that up, and maybe you'll see Justin come on and
Yeah,
razz me a bit. All right, brother.
absolutely.
We'll talk later then. Take care.
Take it easy.